Utah has some of the most varied and amazing scenery in the country, and we've spent a lot of time driving all over the state. So join us in this video as we cover 10 of our favorite scenic, adventurous, and sometimes scary drives in the great state of Utah. Let's kick it off with these crazy switchbacks. This is called the Moki Doug Way, and it's located in the southeast corner of the state. The road leading to this is Route 95, which offers desert scenery, Native American ruins, and Natural Bridges National Monument. This incredible overlook is one of the best I've ever seen, providing views of the goosenecks below and Monument Valley in the distance. To get from the top of the mesa to the bottom requires descending these crazy switchbacks. Like several remote roads, we have the mines to thank for it. A mining company built this road to get uranium from the top to the nearest city below. It descends 1,200 feet with grades up to 10%. This scary drive is only the second scariest drive on our list, so stay tuned for more switchbacks.
It really wasn't too bad, but what it was super beautiful. It's actually surprisingly green for being in the middle of the desert. You can start seeing little glimpses of Monument Valley as you drive along the road. I'm super excited to get into the actual Monument Valley and see it. So let's go there now. Monument Valley is such a fun drive-through with spectacular red rock formations. Monument Valley is on the Navajo Reservation and is a Navajo National Park. There's only one road that visitors can drive on through this park, and it's a bumpy 18-mile loop with a few scenic overlooks. Next up, we have finally made it to the Monument Valley Scenic Drive. And this is pretty cool. What it is it's a dirt road that goes about 17 miles. The dirt road is packed dirt, but it is quite rocky and pretty bumpy. The speed limit is 15 miles per hour, and on this loop, you see a few things like there's a couple trading post places where you can buy things, there's some horseback rides, and of course, all of this beautiful scenery. And this is such a scenic, beautiful drive. John Ford directed many movies here with John Wayne as his lead actor. And today, for the low price of $10, we get to hop on a horse named the Spirit of John Wayne and ride out onto John Ford Point. A tourist trap Matt just had to do. To get off the main scenic drive to the other roads in Monument Valley, a tour is necessary. We hopped in the back of this truck, which was a surprisingly smooth ride that led us to some wonderful spots we couldn't have gotten to ourselves, with sandhills, arches, and Navajo homes.
Now it's time for an amazing fall mountain drive. I'm calling this the Heber Valley Loop. It goes from Salt Lake City to Midway over Guardsman Pass, then back to Salt Lake City on the Alpine Loop Road. We did this drive in the fall and it was spectacularly gorgeous. The road climbs to the top of the Wasatch Mountains to an elevation of 9,700 feet before descending through aspen trees into the gorgeous Heber Valley, which is often known as the Switzerland of Utah because not only does it have Swiss-style homes and resorts, but it was actually settled by Swiss immigrants. The return trip on the Alpine Loop is a much narrower, winding road. This road leads to Sundance Resort, which was once owned by Robert Redford and is one of the prettiest spots in Utah, sitting at the base of Mount Timpanogos. Here, you can ride a chairlift to the top, go for a horseback ride to Stewart Falls, or dine at the Owl Bar, which was once a bar where Butch Cassidy drank at in Wyoming, but was purchased by Robert Redford and moved to this resort. Okay, now let's get back to the famous Utah Red Rock with a drive in Moab called Gemini Bridges. This is actually a beginner off-roading trail, so I took my Toyota Sequoia on it with a buddy of mine. We did this in the off season and it was so great because we were the only ones out here. But that was also a little concerning because I didn't know how my SUV would handle the road, which was slower and bumpier than I anticipated. Okay, we are on the Gemini Bridges road and we are out here. We're out here all alone, nobody. And that road, Lance, how was that road?
Bumpy. He's certified off-road.
I got that. It did handle it fine, and the drive was awesome, but I'm not sure I'd do it in that vehicle again. The payoff is the fantastic Gemini Bridges, which are two arches, or bridges, that run parallel to each other over this little valley. Sadly, a young man once tried to drive on these in his Jeep and fell off.
Next up is another dirt road that is much safer. Well, except during monsoon season. Capitol Gorge is located in Capitol Reef National Park. This drive isn't very long, but it is so cool. The road heads out from the visitor center through the historic district of Fruita and then along the scenic drive near the canyon wall. The end of the road turns into dirt and then plunges into a red rock canyon that was and is still being carved by water. The park was hammered by floods in 2022 when some cars were even washed away. Capitol Reef is the most remote of Utah national parks and is often a drive-through park for many visitors. But the more we've given it, the more rewarding we've found it. And we'll see it again in this video.
Our next drive is through Cedar Breaks National Monument. Here's an easily accessible, yet often overlooked scenic drive in southern Utah that is so great because it provides a cute little town, wonderful red rock formations, alpine scenery, and a nice little canyon all in one. It starts in Parowan, which had fun pumpkin decorations all over town when we visited in October. We then ascended through the colorful fall trees before arriving at Cedar Breaks, a national park site that's very similar to Bryce Canyon. This is mostly a drive-through park with overlooks, but it was fun to walk out to the point on this little ridge. Cedar Breaks is surprisingly high, hitting over 10,000 feet in elevation. In fact, there is a ski resort right by here. The drive back down descends through some switchbacks, and the drive is topped off with a rewarding little canyon.
Our next drive is so cool because we get to see dinosaur tracks and an old fort. This drive is through Warner Valley, and for this we rented an ATV. Drives take on a whole new level of fun when you get out of the car and into an ATV. Our kids were so excited, even if our first stop is the historic Fort Pierce. Mormon settlers built forts like these to protect themselves in the 1800s when the West was wild. These used to speckle the landscape of southern Utah, but now only 3 remain. Next, we are really going to go back in time to find some actual dinosaur tracks preserved in the stone. There are over 400 footprints of all types of dinosaurs, including Eubrontes and Gralator. These are right in the open, no glass or railings. Welcome to the Wild West. Next, we are going to take you to the temples of the Moon and Sun on the Cathedral Valley Drive in Capitol Reef National Park. Much of this road is graded dirt, which makes for an incredibly bumpy ride. These colorful mounded hills show off more of Utah's layers. When we arrive, we are shocked that these mighty formations looked just like they were made out of dried mud. They're actually made out of a very soft sandstone called entrada and are eroding fast.
Behind me here, this big tall one, is the Temple of the Sun. And off there in the distance is the Temple of the Moon. These are in the park in a place called Cathedral Valley that's really off the beaten path. You literally have to travel a 15-mile dirt road to get here.
But there is more to see than just the temples of the Moon and Sun. Just a short drive away is Glass Mountain. It's not really the size of a mountain, but it does look like it's entirely made of glass. Next, if you're going to the Temple of the Moon and Sun, you need to hit Glass Mountain too. There's these, I don't even know what these rocks are called, but they're just like glass, and I've never seen such a big structure of this stuff. They are very strict on not removing artifacts. I'm gonna put these right back where I found them, but you've got to check this out if you're here. It is actually made of selenite crystals and the crystalline form of gypsum. We don't know for sure, but this could be just the tip of the mountain, and there could be a whole lot more of this beneath the earth.
Well, we saw one place where John Wayne walked earlier, and now here's another. Route 128 is in Moab, Utah, and follows the upper Colorado River through a spectacular Red Rock Valley, and today is a great spot to raft the river. The valley has a few wonderful formations, such as Fisher Towers. These appeared in numerous John Wayne movies and served as a backdrop for places that people commonly associate with the West, like Texas. But when asked why he filmed so many movies in Moab, John Wayne said that this was where God put the West. Thankfully, the Hollywood history of this valley is preserved in the Moab Museum of Film, which is where I learned that several non-John Wayne movies were also filmed here. as well as an insane car commercial in which Chevy helicopter landed an Impala and a terrified female model on top of this 1,500-foot tower.
In a class of its own, it stands alone. Chevrolet for 1964.
Last time on this road, we stopped at Matrimony Spring.
Okay, we've discovered Moab's version of Rome's Trevi Fountain here. This is called Matrimony Springs. This natural water coming out of the rock here. Cheryl's getting her water filled up. So it used to have something to do with falling in love and getting married and all that. But now the legend is that you'll fall in love with Moab and you'll return again. All right, you fill up all your water?
I'm ready. I just did my favorite thing, getting water.
We're here at the Schaefer Trail right now.
Driving this road has been on my bucket list for quite a while. We've driven some other scary roads in the past, including the Beartooth Highway near Yellowstone, the Going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park, and the Bird Trail Road in Capitol Reef National Park. So how would this road fare compared to those roads in terms of terror? We sat at the ledge watching others descend into the canyon while one gentleman gave me a few tips.
This guy's trying to reassure me, but it's actually getting in my head.
With tight turns and sheer ledges, you never know how you'll respond. Notice this little do-si-do between these two drivers.
Whoa, there they go. That was a fun little dance.
Not how I envisioned it.
That's not the way it's supposed to go.
It was now or never, and I didn't come all this way just to turn around. Schaefer Road goes from the top of Canyonlands to the bottom. It was once used by Native Americans who would go to the top of the mesa to hunt. Later, a settler by the name of John Schaefer widened the trail to move his cattle back and forth depending on the season. During the Cold War, when uranium mining was going on here, they widened the road for the uranium trucks. So it's thanks to uranium mining that we get to enjoy this fun experience today.
All right, we did it. I actually was quite nervous driving down that road. That was kind of a total white knuckle affair. I seriously had to just focus on the road because I'm scared of heights. For a lot of people, that's a fun joyride, and I had wanted to do it for a long time, and I seriously stopped at the beginning of the road and thought, do I really want to do this or not? I think I psyched myself out a little bit, but I focused on the road, and then I had to tell myself to breathe.
And not look down.
And then I wouldn't look down. Well, I know that probably defeats the purpose of it, but trust me, I saw enough in my peripheral vision driving that road. Hopefully the family had a fun time. That's quite an experience.
Okay, I want to tell you why this was the scariest road we've ever driven. The drop-offs are just as steep as like Beartooth Highway or some of the other ones we've done, but what was scary about this is that on some of the turns, they were so tight that we'd have to like back up and then proceed forward. Like it wasn't like you could just make the turn. You'd have to do a little 3-point turn to make those corners, and that was crazy.
If you like this video, here are 10 more great scenic drives in the state of Utah.